I'm Ivy Nguyen.
My name is Harry.
I'm Emil Paz.
I am An Nguyen.
Hi, I'm Nora Nguyen.
My name is Ty.
My name is Kevin Tran.
My name is Nicolette Brandon.
I'm from Orange County, California.
Austin, Texas.
Pittsburgh, California. Fremont, California.
San Diego, California.
Bellevue, Washington.
Orlando, Florida.
San Diego, California.
I identify myself primarily as a daughter,
A son,
A boyfriend.
My own person.
A guitarist.
and as Vietnamese-American.
Filipino-American.
Vietnamese-American.
Asian-American.
Vietnamese-American.
Both Vietnamese-American and American.
I think being Vietnamese-American comes with your ancestry.
Kind of a mixing of cultures, I'd say. You don't really belong to the generation of your parents.
I can't consider myself Vietnamese.
I don't actually speak the language.
The moment I speak Vietnamese, even though I can speak it perfectly conversationally, people can tell immediately that I'm American.
And you're very clearly not the typical American that most people identify or associate with being like American, you know.
And it also means like a culture, like blending Vietnamese culture with American culture, being Vietnamese-American.
Someone who can identify with their roots as a Filipino as much as they can identify growing up as American.
I feel very disconnected from, I'm definitely not Vietnamese. Like at the end of the day, I don't feel a connection to the people in Vietnam. I'm not close to them. I don't have the same principles, same beliefs. Yet I have like the influence of Vietnamese culture on my upbringing, who I am from my parents. But at the same time, I have a lot of influences from the people around me, American culture, that kind of thing. So it kind of mixes together into its own unique identity, I feel.
To me, the word Vietnamese-American, it's kind of like demonstrate the fact that I feel related to both the Vietnamese culture and the American culture, because I have lived for a long time in both countries. And sometimes I find really hard to balance between my Vietnamese heritage and then the American heritage that I have adapted to for over 7 years already.
I think that Vietnamese-American is someone who's maybe ethnically Vietnamese, but they live in America and are surrounded by American culture and appreciate it in their own way, even if culturally they're more Vietnamese than American.
I think my motivations make me Vietnamese-American. It's that American dream that immigrants have when they come here, especially from my parents. I got that like my entire life, and I feel like that's my main motivation, my main drive to do well in life, is to overcome that hardship that my parents and my grandparents went through in Vietnam during the Vietnam War, and like their exodus, their escape. It's for me to, being Vietnamese-American means making up for that and like showing them that everything they sacrificed was worth it.
What makes me Vietnamese-American is my willingness to move forward and do whatever I can in order to make life easier for them and for myself and for my future family.
I think the one thing that I learned very important to me last year when I took a Vietnamese class is that of the struggle that the Vietnamese community have gone through, like all the wars, and yet we still survive as a nation. And to me, that perseverance and determination, that's something that will always be a part of me, as much as my family who sacrificed their life and career to move to America for my future. And so those things are very important to me, and those are the values that I treasure being Asian American and Vietnamese.
I think in terms of how identifying as Filipino American has influenced me, I think growing up in as diverse a place as the East Bay and having known many Filipino Americans throughout my life, it hasn't been a strange and alienating experience to identify myself as Filipino American.
On a day-to-day basis, I probably don't think about it a whole lot, but I would primarily identify as American more than anything.
I think it's undeniable that who your parents are have like a big influence on who you are as a person. Like, a lot of my values are derived from theirs, and they are legitimately Vietnamese. They care about the country. My parents always talk about wanting to go back and help out when they can. So they're a lot more connected with that culture than I am. But even though I'm disconnected, I can still feel the influence of what I hold important, what values I hold, what I believe in. So I think that's how I'm affected by being Vietnamese American, and how in daily life it affects people's interactions and my interactions with other people. I try not to let it have like a large effect, but at the end of the day, you associate with people that you are similar with, and I can't avoid the fact that I associate most closely with other Vietnamese Americans, Asian Americans, just coming from the same cultural upbringing, same background, and it's just easier for me to relate to people who are similar to me.
Growing up, I was definitely Vietnamese American, which is kind of obvious because both my parents came from Vietnam, so they were my greatest influence growing up, guiding me, trying to make me as Vietnamese as they could get me to be, but in the end, I was still Vietnamese American. And growing up, that made me personally very shy, very timid, very respective of authority. Just like when I would go speak to people, I would be afraid to ask too much or ask for too much, simply because I was taught to be deferential to my elders. Whereas being American, the American identity I have came from just going to school, talking to other kids. Doesn't matter if they were American, Asian American, because American could just be a blend of cultures, but just interacting with them, learning from them what my parents couldn't teach me about American society. And growing up, that changed my view because now, of course, I'm still respectful of my elders, but I find these days, like since high school onwards, I'm a lot more easily able to like just be more myself with them, talk with them actually, like maybe crossing boundaries that Vietnamese people wouldn't think is right, but crossing boundaries that I think is fine as a young adult. So even just doing simple things like cracking a joke. Like in Vietnamese culture, that's maybe okay, depending on if they're your relative or not, but even with my relatives now, I just like to joke with them. Have fun, have a conversation, act like they're almost my equal. And I would say a great part of my American identity comes from my relationship with a white girl.
Identity, I would say, is how you view yourself, and that often is influenced by how others view you. So if others view you a certain way, then maybe eventually you'll start to view yourself that way.
I think identity is an invisible part of you, like in your mind, that shapes everything about you.
I think identity, like I don't really think of it about it every day, but a lot of people ask me about it, and I feel like it just, to me, it's just something like which community, which group of people I identify with, like which group I feel most related to. Yeah, that's what identity means to me.
For me, identity is how I see myself as an Asian American, and at the same time, Vietnamese.
Identity to me is who you are, like when you look at yourself, what you see.
For me, identity is how someone sees themselves. When they look in the mirror, who do they see? When other people look at them, who do you think the other people see?
I define identity just about how you perceive yourself, I guess. I guess that definition isn't like the greatest. It doesn't say that much about what the concept is, but I think it really boils down to who you view yourself as. Like, what do you think, who do you think you are, like what you think your beliefs and your motivations are? I don't know, I don't have a good answer to this question, to be honest.